Hello everyone, welcome back. Happy Tuesday. In this video, I'm going to talk to you about the Baker Act and the RTR. So what is an RTR? RTR stands for Right to Release. So we get a lot of these calls, but just I think the last 2 days I've had like 3 people say, oh, I was asked to sign an RTR and my loved one can go home. So let me explain to you how this works. Now, if you recall from some of the other videos, I've told you there's 2 types of Baker Act. There's the involuntary and there's the voluntary. The involuntary triggers the 72-hour clock. The voluntary means you can be held there indefinitely without a court order. Where the RTR kicks in is you say to them, I don't want to be voluntary. In fact, I want to go home. And they say, okay, well, sign here. So what you're signing is an RTR, right to release. So what are you're signing saying, I'd like to go home. Now, if you sign the RTR, they have 24 hours to do one of 2 things. If they follow the law, and that's a very, very, very big if, they either have to file a petition for involuntary placement, meaning they're requesting a hearing. At that hearing, they're going to ask for anywhere between 0 and 6 months to keep you, or they got to let you go. Okay, they got to let you go. So once you sign the RTR. But the bigger issue comes about when families tell me, oh, the 72-hour clock is almost expired and I was told I need to sign an RTR. You only need to sign an RTR if your loved one is voluntary. If you're involuntary, 72-hour clock is ticking. At the end of 72 hours, if they follow the law, one of 3 things are supposed to happen. They let you go, or they let your loved one go, they file to keep them, or they see if they can get them to sign a voluntary admission agreement, meaning they switch them by consent from involuntary to voluntary. So you went from a 72-hour clock ticking to no clock ticking at all. That voluntary status brings about the RTR if you want to go home. Okay? They probably aren't going to tell you this because they never get informed consent. They just tell you to sign here, or if you don't sign here, as what happened to a client of mine this morning, if you don't sign here, you'll never get out of here. And I said, don't sign it. And she was out within 2 hours. And she was out within 2 hours because I had the judge set a hearing. That lit a fire under their ass, which is one of the reasons you need to hire a lawyer to handle these things. So in order to go from involuntary to voluntary, right, you're supposed to actually agree to it. You're supposed to give informed consent. So in the case I just had where I have a 12-year-old stuck in a facility that I litigate against all the time, she said to me, oh, they've told me I need to sign the RTR. And I said, did you sign anything? Did you even give verbal consent for your child to be voluntary? She said, no, I didn't. And I said, here's what's probably happening. Either the person who asked you to sign the RTR has no idea what they're talking about, or they went and just did the switch themselves. And I've seen this happen a lot, where the facility just notes in the patient's file, oh, agreed to be voluntary, and they make the switch themselves. And as I said to this mom, and I think I made a couple of videos about this, no, you can only go from involuntary to voluntary if you agree, if you give informed consent, which means you understand and know the consequences of doing so. Okay, that's what kicks in the RTR. But I think what happened here is, most likely, because I know this facility, I know the kind of unscrupulous things they get up to, is they probably just noted in the patient's file, oh, agree to voluntary. Okay, and I've even seen where they did that, and then they said, oh no, we're switching you back. Okay, they can't do that either. They can't switch you from voluntary to involuntary. It doesn't work that way. If once you're voluntary, if you request to be released by signing the RTR, they have 24 hours. They're going to go get their court order. They got to file to keep you, which then triggers, and I hope I'm not confusing, then triggers a 5-day window. And in that 5-day window, the court has to conduct a placement hearing. So, look, this statute is really complicated, and I learn stuff all the time, every time I read it. They just made a bunch of changes, by the way, for 2024 that we're still working through. But if you've been asked to sign an RTR, it's because somehow, somewhere, you've probably either consented to be voluntary, or they just went and switch it anyway, because then there's no clock ticking and they don't need a court order to keep you for as long as they want. So I wanted to share that with you. That's the RTR, and thank you for tuning in. Bye-bye.